Lord of Mysteries 2, Circle-of-Inevitability. Chapter 78, Traces. Lumion jumped in fright. It was too late to evade, so he could only brace for the invisible force to crash upon him. He instantly felt warmth, and valor flooded his body. It was as if the sun had at last arrived in winter when he lacked clothes. Other than that, he felt nothing peculiar. It was precisely the same as the experience in the castle yesterday afternoon. As a dancer, am I actually unscathed? Lumion couldn't help but swivel his head to glimpse the short Ryan and the terrifying Leah. He realized that there was no black fog or smoke billowing from them. Promptly after, Valentine, who was in the form of a figure of light, conjured holy water creation and let fall a few drops on Leah and Ryan. However, the two of them retained their transformed semblances with no signs of improvement. Purification and exorcism are futile? Lumion asked. He hoped to determine why it was possible, and why not. Only then would he, who had already received a boon, know what to evade or feign that nothing had transpired when encountering something similar in the future. Ryan briefly explained to him. Purification and exorcism aren't omnipotent. The correspondent power is in the category of evil. For instance, the aura of depravity and all undead. The last isn't necessarily evil, but it's incompatible with the real world. It needs to return to the spirit world, so it can still be purified and exorcised. Just like how our definition of an evil god is based on their style of acting, the power of an evil god isn't necessarily evil. Lumion roughly fathomed and thoughtfully asked. Inevitability's power doesn't belong to evil, nor does it signify depravity. So there is no way to purify or exorcise it? Yes. Valentine had already affirmed this through his previous attempt. From the looks of it, it's normal for me to be able to withstand the halo. But why can the holy water activate the black thorn symbol on my chest and permit me to hear the terrifying sound? This is because the corruption in the seal doesn't belong to me at the moment. It's incompatible with my body, rendering my body impure. Therefore, it needs to be purified? Lumion made a guess. He had wanted to use Shepherd Pierre Barry, who had already received a boon, as an example to ask if the mutation of the body was also in the category of evil and depravity. But the current situation was rather urgent, so he didn't have the luxury to discuss the topic. Lumion tried to walk to the basement door. After taking 2 steps, he suddenly heard a buzzing sound in his ears. He could vaguely hear a voice that seemed to come from an infinite distance, but also seemed to be right before him. However, it wasn't clear enough and was very fuzzy. It only made his chest heat up slightly and his mind enter a state of disorder. This was very similar to when he saw a noodle man dancing. This made Lumion confirm that the black thorn symbol on his chest had been partially activated. He quickly pivoted around and gazed at Ryan, Leah, and Valentine, only to find that they didn't react abnormally. Lumion was immediately disheartened. He originally believed that the 2 symbols on his chest could suppress and weaken beyonders to a certain extent, but from the looks of it, they could only target the monsters in the dream ruins, especially those that had been bestowed by the owner of the black thorn symbol. Of course, he wasn't sure if fully activating the symbol on his chest would affect the surrounding beyonders. Has my condition changed? He asked Leah and the others. No. Leah and the others shook their heads in unison. Lumion nodded indistinctly and affirmed 2 things. The first was the black thorn symbol on his chest, or rather, the evil god corruption sealed in his body. It could indeed help him resist the abnormality in the basement. Secondly, luck was on his side. He was affected by the power of the present. After a few seconds, Lumion attempted to take a diagonal step forward. The slight heat in his chest did not weaken, maintaining its previous intensity. Any changes this time? He asked Ryan and the others again. Leah was the first to shake her head. You're fine. Lumion exhaled and muttered inwardly. With the protection of the black thorn symbol, I can move freely here. Shepherd Pierre Barry and company should be the same. Wait, the Padre hasn't received any blessings yet. There's no thorn symbol. How did he reach the altar unscathed? With this in mind, Lumion grasped something as he turned his gaze to the ground. With the help of Valentine's light, he saw many messy footprints that ordinary humans couldn't see. Apart from a small number of them, which were everywhere, they followed a certain pattern and extended to the front of the altar. Lumion immediately overlapped with the nearest footprint, and the slight heat in his chest began to weaken. This meant that he had returned to the present. As expected, there's a safe route here that leads to the present. Lumion suddenly became very happy. This was because the three powerful Beyonders, Ryan, Leah, and Valentine, hadn't discovered it, and he, a mere hunter, had found it. This reminded him of something his sister Aurora had said. Every pathway has its strengths. Before becoming a demigod, Sequence 9 of some paths might trump Sequence 5 of others in certain situations. Lumion had originally felt inferior and suppressed, useless before the powerful Beyonders these past 2 days of exploration. Now, he'd regained a good amount of confidence. Finding faint traces in reality is a hunter's specialty. Can you? Of course, Lumion didn't forget that Aurora added, but there are pathways good at everything. He gathered his thoughts, turned around, and commanded Ryan, Leah, and Valentine. Take a step toward the altar at the same time. Ryan and the others were clearly puzzled. They couldn't just trust Lumion blindly without knowing why. Lumion could only explain. Look closely at the ground, there are many footprints marking a safe path left behind by the Padres group. Ryan, Leah, and Valentine, lacking Lumion's abilities, could barely see a trace in the sun's dim light. They believed him. They knew that in Intis, many hunter pathway Beyonders had collaborated. Some sequences were skilled at detecting faint signs. Following Lumion's guidance, they trekked the secure route. Instantly, Lumion saw Ryan regain height, Valentine darken, and Leah's face normalize. They had returned to the present, no longer trapped in the past or future. Lumion easily rejoined the team on the safe route. He grinned and said, "No more slip-ups. There may be no coming back if anything else goes south." He was mimicking Ryan's tone and felt it fit their current situation. Typically, his attitude would have had him mocking them. "Haha, are you blind? Can't you see any of the obvious signs? Another mistake and you're done for." Leah touched her face and breathed a sigh of relief. "We're with you." Lumion wasn't humble. He carefully picked out the footprints on the ground and crept up to the altar. It wasn't as straightforward as heading back just now, since it didn't matter if he took a wrong turn, but Ryan and the others couldn't. This time, Leah's silver bells stayed silent. Only once all four had reached the altar did they start ringing, sometimes soothing, other times intense. "It's dangerous, but we can find a way around it," Leah, experienced enough, explained. Ryan instantly nodded. "Don't touch anything here for now. We'll just observe." Lumion had already set his sights above the altar. There was a depression at the bottom, as if hollowed out to hold something. Inside were grayish-white candles, a small bottle of clear liquid, and an unopened wooden box. But the most striking item was a black object, a long robe with a hood. In front, in the center of the circle, was a circular symbol made of thorns. Every part of it was twisted and pitch black, as if painted with some strange substance. It gave the feeling of slowly oozing. Seeing the symbol, Lumion felt dizzy and ringing in his ears. Ryan snorted, and a dawn-like light naturally emanated from him. This helped Leah and Valentine suppress the mental confusion. "Don't stare at that symbol too long," Ryan said in a deep voice. Lumion quickly shifted his gaze aside. The dizziness and ringing in his ears lessened. "That seems to be all for the altar." Lumion was about to suggest searching the area when he heard Leah ask Ryan, "Will your sunrise gleam activate the altar?" "Huh." Lumion whipped his head around and unconsciously looked at the altar again. Ding ding ding. Leah's veil and silver boots rang harshly, an urgent warning. In the same breath, the black altar robe leaped up as if inhabited by an invisible being. "Oh!" A chill wind gusted. Lumion glimpsed transparent faces under the hood, ferocious, warped heads radiating hatred. They swarmed into a strange, terrifying gestalt. Lumion recognized one face, pale, swollen, with blood and tears pooling in its eyes. Raimund. Lumion dodged behind Ryan, uninterested in a closer look. Save us! Save us! The translucent faces shrieked in unison. Their shrill cries pierced Ryan and the others like needles, threatening to fell them. Valentine was unmoved. Arms spread, he summoned a holy flame-wreathed pillar of light from the sky. It landed over the black robe. Light erupted. Lumion and Leah shut their eyes on instinct.